In today's episode, I'm going to be covering 5 essential resources that I think every freelance writer on the planet should be using. But especially if you're just getting started, these are 5 resources that you really should be looking to learn and use right off the bat. So if you want to make sure that you are not missing any of the essential resources you need to succeed as a freelance writer, stay tuned. Okay, number 1, if you're not using Google Docs, start using it right now. Google Docs is the perfect writing tool for freelance writers. First and foremost, it autosaves your work so you're never in a position of losing stuff that you've already written. If you've been writing for any length of time, you know the frustration of losing your work due to a computer crash, a malfunction in the app or tool you're using, something of that kind. It's the worst. There's no reason to ever have to experience that. By using Google Docs, you're going to skip that experience completely. It's going to autosave your work when you're online, and it will even save your work in some capacity when you're offline, provided you don't close out the app. It's a very easy, lightweight tool that allows you to just write. And as a freelancer, it's very easy to share, very easy to bring in collaboration with clients. The commenting, reviews, and editing features are all very well done, not complicated to learn, not complicated to use, which is more than can be said for traditional word processors like Microsoft Word. In another comparison to tools like Microsoft Word, the formatting on Google Docs is very easy, very simple, and plays well with other apps. If you've ever had the experience of having to receive a Word doc from a client and utilize it in some capacity beyond Word itself, then you know how frustrating the built-in formatting can be that you have to deal with while using Word docs. Google Docs is the exact opposite. It carries only the most basic formatting, stuff that plays really nicely with WordPress, really nicely with almost any app you're going to use. It's just a great overall word processor, and it's completely free. I've been using Google Docs for pretty much the entirety of my career. It's how I send work to clients. It's how I do work for my own businesses, and I would highly recommend it. The second resource I would recommend to all freelance writers is actually the sponsor of this video, and that's CopyAI. CopyAI is a collection of tools that allow you to very easily and very quickly tap into GPT-3 artificial intelligence. Now, if you aren't familiar with GPT-3, it's currently the most advanced writing AI in the world, and it's the first AI to ever create language and content that is indistinguishable from human content for most readers. Now, there are 2 reasons I recommend CopyAI to pretty much any writer at any level of their career. For writers on the earlier side of their career, CopyAI really allows you to generate ideas that typically would come with experience. So what I mean here is, for me as someone who's been in the space for 10 years, has written for hundreds of businesses, when I'm looking to create copy for a client, there's a lot of sources that I can pull from in my mind, a lot of experiences, a lot of websites that I've read, a lot of different versions of copy that I've seen that allow me to generate some initial ideas when brainstorming for a new client. If you're new to the game, you don't have any of that experience. You're pulling from a much smaller subset of ideas, and what CopyAI is essentially going to do is simulate years of experience as you're writing this copy. It taps into a massive subset of the internet and pulls out specific phrases, pieces of content, ideas, bits of language, things that you can incorporate into your copy, even when you don't have that experience or that context yourself. Even for someone who's been writing professionally for the last 10 years, I find that my brainstorming process is significantly improved by using CopyAI when writing really particular and more complex copy like value propositions, potentially headlines, subject lines, things that are relatively short but need to really pack a big punch. And it's less that you're going to be copy pasting stuff straight out of this tool. It's more that when you're doing your initial brainstorming phase, it's going to give you a lot of options to work with, and it's going to help you explore a bit past the little mental ruts that you tend to develop during brainstorming. And that's what makes this a great tool for people on the more experienced end of the spectrum as well. It's just that even when you do have a lot to pull from, a lot of experience, a lot of previous work, a lot of context, It's very easy to get into specific mental ruts in your train of thought. So you get hung up on certain phrases, certain ideas, and it becomes hard to push past those in brainstorming. It can be a very mentally intensive and lengthy process. And CopyAI helps you sort of skip a lot of that. It does the work to generate some of these phrases, some of these ideas that are going to push you past those mental ruts and find new ideas to explore in your brainstorming. And while CopyAI is a premium tool, you can go get a 30-day free trial by heading over to copy.ai/Jacob and signing up. This brings us to our third recommended resource, and that is Grammarly. Grammarly is a great all-around tool for all writers at every level, and if it could sort out some of its compatibility issues, I think it would be the perfect writing tool. What Grammarly does is automatically check your writing as you write it for typos, grammar problems, any sort of mistake that needs to be fixed. If you're someone who typically doesn't have a lot of problems with grammar or typos, it's still a nice safety net to help catch little issues that may pop up that you don't realize, especially when you're working as a freelancer and there's the potential that a mistake here or there could reflect poorly on your brand. While it's perfectly possible to have a very successful career even with ongoing typo issues, like myself, it's obviously better to have no typos than to have some typos. And on the flip side, if you're someone who really struggles with grammar, who really struggles with typos and mistakes, maybe even English is a second language for you and there's certain ways that English phrases tend to be expressed differently than your native language, Grammarly can be an absolute lifesaver. It's a great overall tool with both free and premium tiers. And really the only reason that it's not a perfect tool, and in my case, one that I don't actually use, is because of the compatibility issues. Grammarly has some notable compatibility issues with WordPress in particular, and it also has some issues with Google Docs, and since pretty much 95% of my work happens within WordPress and Google Docs, it's just not a tool that I've been able to use to the capacity that I'd like to. I'm hoping at some point Grammarly fixes these issues because I'd love to be using it on a daily basis, but this doesn't seem to be a deal breaker for a lot of writers as it's one of the most popular tools on the planet. So I'd highly recommend checking it out and just seeing if it works for you. Fourth on our list is the Hemingway app, named after Ernest Hemingway. Similar to Grammarly, the Hemingway app is something that you have installed and active as you write, and it's going to give you a different type of feedback on your writing. Rather than focusing primarily on typos and grammar, what the Hemingway app does is focus on the more nuanced aspects of writing that can make your writing either bold, clear, powerful, and concise, or weak, passive, and confusing. If you're even a few months into writing online, you've probably noticed that there are some differences to most of the successful writing that's published online versus maybe what you learned in literature class. And the difference is that online writing tends to be a lot simpler. It's a lot more straightforward. The goal is clarity. The goal is getting ideas across. The goal is to have a conversational tone. You're not really aiming for melodic prose or advanced vocabulary. The goal is communication, effective communication, and the Hemingway app helps you identify places in your writing that are too complex, overly wordy, using unnecessarily complex vocabulary, anything that's detracting from the clear, concise communication that we're aiming for in online writing. This is one of those tools that I think is especially helpful for new writers as they're learning and familiarizing themselves with the online style, but it can be helpful at every stage of your career. I tend to be overly long-winded, and since I read a lot of literature, I can often forget that certain types of vocabulary go past the reading level that we typically want to aim for in copywriting. And so having an app that can help spot some of those things for me, especially when I'm overlooking them or sort of in the zone on, what I'm trying to say and forgetting about the complexities of how I'm saying it, that's where the Hemingway app can be extremely helpful. And number 5, the final resource that we'll mention today, I think every single writer out there, new or experienced, should be a part of an online community. One of the most challenging aspects of being a freelance writer is that most people can't really relate to what you're doing. People often tend to be condescending or unsupportive because they don't really understand what's capable for freelance writing in today's market. Or even people who are supportive just don't understand the types of work that you're doing, the wins and victories that you're experiencing, the challenges and tough moments. Having people who really understand what you're going through, who are experiencing a lot of similar things and having a similar journey of their own is extremely important for success in this space. This is even more true if you're working from home or working remotely by yourself. You need human interaction, you need support, you need community, you need to find your tribe in some capacity. And there are a lot of ways to do that. You can reach out to other writers and freelancers that you find online and just connect with them directly. Some of my best friends today came from me doing exactly that early on in my career. All you got to do is reach out to people you see online doing what you're doing and just connect with them. And I think right now, Twitter is probably the best place to make that happen. You can also join one of numerous online communities that are already doing the work of finding and bringing together writers. Some of these communities are going to be very general with a wide variety of members. Other communities are more niche and specific, focusing on specific goals, specific industries, or specific stages of your journey. Some communities are free, some communities are paid. And at first, the specifics of the community don't really matter. What I would encourage you to do is find and join a community, start connecting with people, start learning, and then over time you might find that there's certain aspects of various communities that you're in that don't work for you or just aren't optimal, and you might decide to find another community that's more in the direction of what you're looking for. For example, Right Minds, the writers community that I co-host, is very focused on finding writers who are more entrepreneurially minded, who are really focused on the business side of writing and wanting to grow their careers quickly. We don't spend a whole lot of time talking about writing techniques or finding creativity or things like that. We're mostly focused on the business side, on finding how to land clients, finding how to do higher performing work, learning to grow our career and tap into different streams of income within the online space. And in our case, we found that there were a lot of downsides to having a free community that was open to everyone. We ended up getting a lot of questions and focus that we didn't want, that wasn't really the goal that we were trying to aim for. And so it's a premium community that requires an application where we look for specific criteria to make sure that, hey, everyone in this group is on the same page and is all getting a lot out of the experience. If Right Minds in particular sounds like a community that is of interest to you, we are currently open for applications for 1 week. So head on over to jacobmcmillan.com/right-minds and you can apply to join. So interview 5 essential resources that I think every new freelancer needs: Google Docs, CopyAI, Grammarly, a Hemingway app, and an online community of some form. I hope that was helpful to you, and I'll catch you guys in the next episode.